I'm making this video because Black Friday is coming up, and like every single year I kind of realize that I'm late because sales keep starting sooner and sooner. But I do think that this video can be helpful at any time of the year, so I'm making it, and I do want to talk about how to gain a very healthy shopping behavior, how to stop buying things that we regret, how to feel in control of our spending, and how to just stop impulse purchasing stuff that we don't actually want. The good news is that there's only one thing we need to change. There's one thing we need to understand that makes it so easy, so possible to be in control of our shopping and spending. The bad news is that that might not be super easy, because if it was, then no one would fall for advertisement and no one would buy stuff that they don't want. So let me still explain it to you, because I think it can be a super, super helpful tool. Now, it sounds simple. What I mean is we have to understand the concept of enough instead of always more, better, more perfect, perfection in general. Just understanding what it means to have enough. And if that sounds too simple, too stupid, it won't work, things like that, please give me a minute, because I do want to talk to you about this concept of enough, but then also give you really practical tips on how to actually implement it in your everyday life, on how to make the transition to believing that you have enough, and how to not suffer from, not being able to buy things you want or need. So what do I mean by enough? Now, I think the word is actually pretty simple. So what I'm talking about is that we should focus on having the stuff, purchasing the things, spending the money on things we need. And that the goal should be having everything we need. Now, in my logic, there's still a lot of space for things we want. There's still space for us being individuals and needing and wanting and preferring different things. So I'm coming from the perspective of a person that has been living a minimalist life for the past 9 years. So before I was a minimalist, I was, of course, into shopping like many people were. Never extremely. On my minimalism journey, I learned about decluttering and having less and less and less things, having the perfect things, having only what I need, trying to have even less. And I think enough is kind of not really in the middle of these things, but it's actually both of these things, decluttering and buying, are one end, and having enough is actually the other end of the spectrum. What I mean by that is having enough also means that we can stop focusing on our stuff, while having more and more and more, and having perfect things, having perfect non-things, having decluttering the perfect amount of things, having the perfect small amount of things, having the perfect big amount of things, like having a handbag collection of 1,000 pieces and nothing is missing, is kind of the same as having a handbag collection of 1 or 2 bags and nothing is missing, because you can do everything with these 2 bags. Because I think we're not talking about like the number of things, but the mindset or the way you approach stuff is kind of similar. No matter if you're chasing all the things you want to buy or if you're chasing all the things you don't want to own, you're still focused on stuff. You're still focused on creating this perfect surrounding, the perfect amount of stuff, the perfect stuff to own. While on the other hand, having enough is very much not focused on stuff, because you have enough, you have what you need, but it's just not this huge topic. There's no going for perfection. There's no chasing stuff in any direction. So this is the definition we're working with. That's, I think, really important. At least for me it was, and please let me know if you have different opinions in the comments. This setup makes it possible, in my opinion, to learn about enough and to stop all the obsessing about buying and decluttering and stuff in general. And that, of course, enable us to use our energy and our money and our time for other stuff. We don't need to constantly look at shopping sites. We don't need to spend our money. We don't even need the Black Friday deals in most cases, because we don't need this stuff. What are we doing now? How is this beneficial? How is this fun? How can this make us happier people? And how do we learn to believe and know and kind of use this concept of enough in our everyday life? When I wrote it down a few days ago, I realized that it's kind of like a 5-step program. But you don't need to see it as a program. You don't need to follow the steps. You can leave them out. You can leave, in general, everything that doesn't serve you and take what serves you. You can just watch the video and go back to your regular shopping. So the first step would be a low buy or a no buy, a shopping ban of some kind. And that is in order to kind of reset our habit of just buying things. So I think in order to get an understanding of enough, to get an understanding of what it means, what we need and what we want, and how life feels with shopping and without shopping, we need to experience a period of not shopping. And if that's something that we do constantly, then it won't just happen overnight without us trying. So I suggest to have a certain period of time where we intentionally do not buy anything or just a very low number of things. Now, of course, groceries and things like that are not included, but what I'm talking about is fashion and electronics and makeup and all the things that you might usually buy and don't really keep track on or realize you buy too much of or spend too much money on. This is up to you how long this will take. It can be a week, a month, a year. Something in between. It can be you can buy one thing a month like I did it for several years. It can be you don't buy anything at all. It can be you are allowed to buy some things and you're allowed to not buy some things. It can have a certain budget attached to it, like you can spend 100 euros on non-necessary things a month. Something like that, whatever works for you. But the idea is really to remove ourselves from the mindless shopping of the past, to gain control, to see what we're doing and to stop the overconsumption here. This is not the end goal. This is not what will make us happy most likely. This will feel weird in the beginning, but it is an important step. The second step, or you can also start it right now and to help with the intentional purchasing, is to create a budget or to create a wish list, to create some rules to help you shop and spend money. Because we're not gonna like not buy anything for the rest of our life, but I think we want to leave the rules whenever possible. Like we don't need more rules than necessary. So while we're not buying, and I think that's kind of crucial, we can set up some rules. I really like to have just a wish list. So whenever I think like, oh, I totally need this, I write it down and I don't buy it immediately. This gives me some time, and usually after a week, I might just not feel like I totally need this anymore, but maybe I forgot about it completely, or I realize after some weeks or even after some months, I'm still thinking about it. I still want to buy it. I found even more reasons why I need it or why I really want it, and then I can go ahead and buy it. But this will make it impossible to do impulse purchases if I follow these rules. It can also help to just have a budget, no matter if it's about the finances or if it's about, not just mindlessly spending. A budget, a certain number, planning ahead can help you to not lose control over your spending. That sounds really, really simple, but I think it's just also really, really helpful. The next step is just a question that you can ask yourself whenever you're not really sure if that's something you really need, if that's something you really want, if you even want it, because I think that is one of the biggest problems that we have when we're not really in control of our spending and shopping. We are not sure about if something is really a need, because right now everything feels like a need, and then you buy it and then you realize later that you're spending so much money and that some of the stuff you really don't want after a week, some of the stuff you just don't use, some of the stuff were impulse purchases, bad purchases, or just kind of random purchases. And so I think what's really, really important as well is to learn about what is a need, what is a want, things like that. And here's a question to ask yourself. And that's, you want to buy something, and then you ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen if I do not buy it? I use the same rule, I use the same question when I pack for a trip. When I want to pack as minimalist as possible, I ask myself, what is the worst thing that can happen if I do not bring this thing? Now, the answer is most likely going to be similar. If I really, really want to buy this sweater, and in my life, sweaters is something I definitely have enough of. Like, I have more than enough. And if I ask myself, what is the worst thing that could happen if I do not buy the sweater? Then the answer is honestly like nothing. Like there's no worst thing because I have enough sweaters. Maybe I can like come up with a worst thing that would be something like, I cannot create this one outfit that I'd like to create right now. But there's just nothing bad happening. And the same, I think, goes for other devices. Like, oh, I really want to buy this new phone. What is the worst thing that could happen if I don't buy it? I have to keep using my old phone. On the other hand, you know, if you really need something, and if you say like, what is the worst thing that could happen if I don't buy this right now, then it's something like, I have to stop my everyday life right now. I cannot do this one thing that people need from me that I need to do in my everyday life. Like, I need to invest so much time and money if I don't buy this to find another solution. Then it seems like this is a need. This is something you really want to buy because it's saving you so much time and money, and it just makes your life possible. And I think all of this can just help you to stop thinking that your wants are needs. And to be honest, I think it's totally fine to buy things that you want. It's totally fine to buy some things you don't need because, you know, it's fun and it makes our lives fuller and better if we can sometimes invest in something that we just like to have. Spend money on restaurants because we could cook at home and it would cost less money. Buy a hobby equipment that you really want because it's just fun. Go on a trip with friends that is not necessary, but it can make your life better. But I think all of this, of course, should come with an understanding of your finances and of your time and of your stuff, in a sense of like, would it really bring the amount of happiness that I think it will? And we will make mistakes, yes, but we can learn and we can set some rules, the rules that I talked about right now and will talk about, to help us understand and have like a better guess before we buy something. Another one of these super helpful tools would be the fourth step, and that is understanding that not buying the thing does not equal having nothing. I think this is so ingrained in our brains, and I don't know why. Like, I know why, of course, because we want the thing and we feel like we're missing out if we're not buying it, because then we don't have it, then we have nothing. But that's not true, because if we do not buy it, we have the option, the money to still buy this or a million other things. We have the space. We have more time because we do not need to clean it, maintain it, find space for it. We have the resources and the freedom and the options of not owning this thing. So in so many cases, using your money to buy one specific thing will limit your options, will make you the owner of this thing, but this thing cannot give you as much as the space, time, money, freedom can give you of not owning the thing. I hope you understand what I mean, but if you really think it through, I do hope you can kind of see all the freedom that not buying something, that not owning something can give you. And then, well, sometimes owning the thing is actually the better option, of course. But seeing this, like seeing what you're losing by buying something, helps you understand and think about if it's actually worth it. And then the fifth step, and I think this is actually really fun, but it's also kind of a lot of work and practice, is understanding advertisement. So I think most of us have bought something because of advertisement. And advertisement is a huge industry, and some of you might work in advertisement, and I do to some extent as a YouTuber. I think it's just so interesting to see how advertisement works. And I've bought things because of advertisement. But if you do it while knowing that the ad just sold you on this thing, then you can still make a more informed and intentional decision. Like, I've installed software because I've seen it on YouTube ads. I have bought certain things or decided on certain brands, definitely because I've seen ads on Instagram about them. But that doesn't mean that's something I don't do anymore, at least, that I just, because I see an advertisement, go and buy something. Yes, it influences me, but as long as I see how it influences me, I'm still in control of my purchasing decisions. And advertisement as a whole, and I think that is crucial to understand, never has your interest as the consumer as their first priority. The priority is always to sell you stuff. The priority is always to get your money. The priority is always to make you believe that you missed something, that your life would be better if you just bought this thing. Not actually wanting to make your life better, but selling the thing. And if you know that and then look at advertisement, I think you can see it more and more and more. And now when I look at advertisement, a lot of times I can admire the way they're trying to advertise something. I can think it's fun, I can think it's stupid, I can think it's problematic. But I'm kind of removed from the effects because the first thing I see is the advertisement strategy and not, it doesn't create this feeling of not being enough in myself as the first thing happening. And I think that is crucial and it is helpful and it makes it so much harder to sell me stuff that I don't want. So these were kind of the steps I wanted to talk about when it comes to learning what it means to have enough. And honestly, I do have to say the crucial thing that did help me was this first step of having a low buy and having low buy rules. And for me, this didn't go like from one day to the next, but I realized that over months and years of intentionally buying and buying less, I felt such an immense amount of freedom. I learned that I truly don't need that much, that there are so many solutions to my problems that do not involve buying something, that so many things that I think I absolutely need are not important anymore after a week. And it made me feel so much freer. It removed me so much from thinking constantly about buying things, constantly thinking about stuff in general. And it freed up time, it freed up money, it freed up space for me to focus less on stuff and more on the things that I really enjoy doing in life. And yes, I still travel. Yes, I still spend time with friends. Yes, I still own stuff and I still buy stuff and I still spend money. But I feel in control and I feel more free. And that is what I want for you and what I hope that you can kind of carry through this year's Black Friday and into the future so that you're not feeling like you're controlled by the ads and by big companies and your money is just flowing away from you, but that you are an intentional, active subject in making purchasing decisions. I do hope you are having a good time, a good fall, good upcoming Christmas season. And now I want to link you a video here that you can check out next. Also, I want to say thank you so much to my patrons. They get an extra podcast episode every single week. And last week I actually did talk about the same concept of having enough, but not when it comes to shopping, but when it comes to our bodies, how we use our time, how we feel about ourselves. So maybe that's interesting to you. Then you could check out Patreon and see, if you want to become a patron. But other than that, I hope to see you there or in my next video. Goodbye.